I am here with Eastern Washington University wide receiver Nolan Ulm. Nolan, how are you doing? Appreciate you coming on the final whistle today.
Of course, Blaine. Always a pleasure talking to you. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you've been on one of my other shows, so it's kind of been great to get you on for my other the show, The Final Whistle. I know you came on for Nothing Like a Saturday a couple of months back, so I was looking forward to rekindling this relationship and hearing your story. So I appreciate it having taken some time.
Of course, of course.
All right, Nolan. So for my followers, why don't you just give a synopsis? You went through an incredible experience to get to where you are. Can you just walk us through what has gotten you from point A to point B?
Okay, yep. Yeah, I'll try to keep it under 4 hours here. So
Okay.
I'm just
We
joking.
got
But
time. We got time.
yeah, my name's Nolan Ulm. I'm originally from Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. Play wide receiver here. And like you said, it's been a really cool journey. Obviously coming from a small city in Canada to coming and playing on one of the premier, D1 college football programs in the country. So basically, we talked about it on your other podcast, Blaine, but I just had this come upon me when I was basically like a freshman in high school, and I was inspired a lot by this other guy that had done it from my high school and went to Boise State. But for me, it really didn't seem like it was going to be possible at all. I used to get called Baby Gap. I was skinny. I was not good at football. I got cut from our like local select team. I didn't even get cut. I didn't even get accepted on the team. So, um, yeah, it was never easy for me, but it wasn't for me. It just came upon my heart, this big goal and mission. So I took it upon myself, started working out 3-4 times a day, waking up at 4:30 in the morning, doing all that crazy stuff, training like Rocky, Rocky 4 to be specific, up in the Canada running in the snow. But yeah, seriously, that's really what it was. I was doing all sorts of crazy workouts, and just trying to get myself out there. Had to, pitch my idea to come down to some camps and basically become a young entrepreneur and sell myself to some of my grandparents and stuff like that, and my parents too, and convince them why I want to do this. And they saw all the hard work and they believed in me. So we came down to some camps, got my name out there, and eventually one thing led to another without getting too into it. And I committed here to Eastern Washington University on a full ride scholarship. So absolutely such a blessing to wake up every day here. So there's my little story for you there, Blaine.
Nolan, I was fascinated because you were also just recently on the Burn podcast, and you were kind of telling your story and how you told your mom to buy you the Rocky movie. So I knew as soon as you made that Rocky analogy, I had to ask you what led you to want those movies and stuff like that. Just as a quick spin off here.
Yeah, it's a really good story. So yeah, and I talk about in that one too. The big change for me was after we lost our high school junior varsity game, and I'm in ninth grade. Nobody cares about our game, but to me, it was like we lost that game, and I remember for the rest of my life just looking out at the lights in the field. My coach was like, "I know some of you guys or whatever won't be back next year." It was a really big moment, and I'm looking out, and I'm like, I'm done being just like good, because I was a good player at that point. I've been blessed with a little bit of talent, and I came up from really being not good when I was younger. So I was a little good. And then whatever, time went on, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna start in the new year, which is stupid. I should have just started then, but I think I was a little banged up. So I was trying to get healthy off of some things. And yeah, I saw Rocky 5 playing on our TV. I'm walking through the living room, and I'm like, oh, what? Like, I didn't even know there was a fifth Rocky. That's a weird one, but I saw him like
Right.
training this guy, and it was like super intriguing to me. It was like the perfect thing for me to see. And so I asked my grandma, or yeah, my mom was like, "What's your Christmas list?" So then I asked, or whatever, I gave my mom my Christmas list for my grandma, the Rocky movies, and thank God I got them before we went on this vacation to Hawaii. And Blaine, I watched the first one, and it was like that first
It's
morning scene when he wakes up, and
right.
oh my goodness, just chills. I'm like, this is what I'm gonna live. This is what I'm gonna live. I'll tell you right now, there's a big difference between seeing it on the movie and feeling amped up, and then actually waking up at 4:30 and then being like, wow, I feel like crap. But I would wake up to the Rocky theme song every single morning. And even now I hear it and it gives me chills in a good way and a bad way, because it's like geez, what it took to get here. But it basically is one of those things that it always reminds me where I came from. And I think that's just what roots me. And I'll never lose my hunger and my drive, no matter how much I accomplish or how much I accomplish or how much I do. So yeah, that's kind of the story on the Rocky movies there.
That's so fascinating. I gotta ask, are you still getting up at 4:30 now, or you push it back a little bit?
No, well, it definitely it's all over the place. But I'm getting less sleep. I'm only waking up. It's usually about 5:15. Sometimes
Okay,
I'll touch 4:50. But it depends on the day. I'm staying up a little bit later just because it's kind of the way it works with our schedule. But
right.
I think it's good for everyone. And you know how it is, Blaine. Like just because you're up early doesn't mean you're more productive. But I think everyone needs to go through a point in their life where they wake up early like that, just to prove to
Mhm.
themselves they have that discipline and they can do that. But I've done everything at Blaine. One summer I was like, let's try the reverse. So I would go to bed at like 2 in the morning and then wake up at like 8. So that was interesting too. Like, cause I am kind of like I can go in the nighttime, so
Right.
I'm shut down. But I've also done nocturnal. So I've done like night shifts of and just seeing what that's like. That was not good. Like it was cool for like 4 days, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I kind of want to see people and see the sun. So
Oh man, that's crazy how you've tried like a little bit of everything though, but like you try and find your niche, right, on how you get your workouts in and stuff like that, how to function throughout the day. So that's really cool.
yeah, exactly. And I think even just for people, obviously it's more of a sports thing, but
Yeah.
sports podcast, but I think it's super huge for you just to try different things out, especially because you don't know like what everyone has kind of their own like man, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like how your circadian rhythm is the
Right. Yeah, with how
right?
your sleep rhythm, exactly. Your
Yes,
24
exactly.
hour
So
schedule.
yeah, and just playing around with it and trying different things because like once you find it, stick with whatever works best for you. But a lot of people morning isn't going to be the best. But for some people though, Blaine, like when they're up at 10, they're not doing work, they're watching TV. But that's just not like for me, it's like I'm doing stuff, so that's why I'm not getting bed so early. I'm sure it's the same with you though. Like
Right.
there's always something on the go. You love attacking and creating. So
Yeah, no, I've definitely started doing the morning. Not the 5:15, but we're up in the morning now to
good
try
for
and
you.
get the workouts in and stuff like that. I know we were talking off air. I've got a work meeting now bright and early, so that'll
Yeah.
be nice and fun. But let's try and get back. Nolan, I want to ask you now, what led you to Eastern Washington University? I know it probably wasn't even on your radar when you were thinking about it, looking at different places to go to. So what drew you here there?
Yeah. So another cool story. Yeah, I didn't really know much about Eastern Washington. I just knew I've had seen a couple guys in Canada come to visits down here, and the red turf. Obviously, it's like, whoa, that's different. And I knew they were elite though because nobody really could get offers from them, and it was really weird to me. I was like, they don't offer anybody. It's really
Mhm.
weird. Um, so basically, what happened was I went to the opening, like we talked about in the other podcast, the Nike opening, which for people who don't know, it's like a circuit of camps that Nike runs where they do all your like 40. It's like an NFL combine for high school kids, and they legitimize your numbers through Nike. So it's very laser
Right.
timing, like there's no, and that's a big thing for kids to go to if you want to be recruited because you need, you can't just go off of your numbers on Huddle because like everyone can just lie about that, and like your dad's stopwatch is not going to be like credible to college coaches, college recruiters. So um I went to that, my numbers, and then I kind of blew up from there. Like a lot of people just knew I was like a really good athlete because I did really well. I was like something like top 40 in the West Coast or whatever. So then from there, I heard from Coach Pat McCann, who's at Fresno State now, and he kind of just asked me to come to the camp. And yeah, I've never heard of him. And then my dad was like, "Let's go," because they wanted me to be like close. And I really didn't care. I was willing to go to freaking Paris if I had to go to Paris play football. Like,
Right.
I didn't care at all. But now it definitely is a blessing to be close to home for a bunch of different reasons. But um, yeah, I we drove down, went to the camp, got MVP at the camp. It was super cool. And then I never heard from them. And I was like really close to committing this other school. And then all of a sudden they start like recruiting me hard in August, which was just really weird to me. But basically what happened was they had already done a lot of the recruiting and I came on their radar kind of late. And they took July off as a staff or whatever. And the camp was like right before July. So I talked a little bit with them and then that was kind of it. And then anyways, I just got on the phone with them. And I think really like the mindset and all the stuff I'm kind of telling you right now, like, and obviously I was a little more fired up on that call and just talking about my journey in terms of like proving people wrong and stuff. And that really clicked with them. And that's like the type of guy they look to have on the roster here, and we have quite a few of those guys, which is they're very rare to find usually. So yeah, got the offer eventually, and then yeah, committed Halloween night that year, my
Oh
senior
man.
year. Yeah, and yeah, just crazy. It's really cool. Anyone that's ever played any sort of college sports, they know that that commitment night is it's special because all that work kind of being, leading to that point, you'll never forget that moment for the rest of your life. So that's how I ended up at Eastern Washington, Blaine.
How tough is that process to make a decision as an athlete? I know it's probably grueling because you said you had another school like that you were ready to sign on for until Eastern kind of reeled you in late.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, a lot of people don't really think about that. I like to like it's kind of like dating, like like you seriously, you got to be right and you got to do your research. And the biggest thing for me was if I was gonna make a decision, it was gonna be on paper. So like always just writing out the pros and the cons. And someone gave me like a decision matrix, where you kind of just name the pros and cons of everything. And I went through like that, but yeah, it's really tough. Especially I didn't really have a ton of options, but I can only imagine those guys with 30 plus options. But also too, like you visit a school, you get a feel for a place, so you rule out pretty quick. But usually, what's tough for guys is just like dating. There's two that are pretty awesome, so you just and at the end of the day though, if you make the decision on paper, it'll be pretty clear. And to me too, it's like as soon as you make that decision, you don't look back. It's like you're
Right.
going all in with this, right? And you're committing to it. But yeah, definitely almost committing to the other school. For me, it was more like there was pressure to commit. So I think a lot of people don't think about that too, because this roster fills up. Unless you're Arch Manning, they're not gonna take you really, really late, So
All right, no, that's interesting. So, just because um it's kind of crazy to think about like how those processes work and like a couple of my friends did D1 sports as well. And it's just like how it's almost yeah, like how you said, like it feels like dating. You would never think of it like that though, going if you're an outsider on trying to figure out the process, right? So that's a really unique component of it. Let's talk about a little bit about this year for you. Some I actually had you on my other podcast right before the season opener, and we kind of talked a little bit off air because there's only so much you could really say like on the air before you're going into a game against an opponent. And you actually scored the opening TD this year for Eastern. How cool of an experience was that? And you guys ended up getting that W. You had a great game.
yeah, that was really, really cool. That whole first drive, so I caught a big shot play too to put us in position, a double move, a little slant and go, to get us in the position to score. So that was really cool. Like especially with Gunner, we've been putting a lot of work in ever since Eric left. So it was really cool to kind of have that connection come to fruition in front of a whole audience and show everyone the hard work we've been putting in. And yeah, that game was a really fun game and it was awesome. Fought through the lightning delay. There was a lot of adversity. But yeah, that was just the beginning. That little bit
Right.
I know of a lot of adversity this season. So
And for you, how does your preparation focus going into a week? What are you focusing on? Is it like different just tweaks that you're seeing on film of the other team, or is it stuff that you've seen personally, a little bit of both? What do you try and do when you're going into a game week?
yeah, so obviously just like any place, the coaches, they coaches game plan for the team, right? So they they look at what they think they would want to do, and then we kind of get like a playbook for that week. So a lot of people don't realize that like we don't have a big playbook the whole year. Like yes, we have like a library of plays, but then they kind of get picked and plugged into that week what we're going to run. And they can always pull up random stuff during the game, but you're going to run because they watch tons of film. Like right now, they're going to be here probably till like 11 p.m. just scouting out Northern Colorado this week. So yeah, that's what they do. And so I get the game plan, make sure I'm good with all the plays. There's some special ones we get in extra every single week. Know those. And then for me, I just like to see like, because they're going to give us the whole breakdown on how they play defense. And I just like to see how the corners move and stuff, and how they're like, what's their press technique, and just like what have other guys used that's worked against them. I kind of look at that, and then from there, like special teams, same thing. We break it all down because I'm a big special teams guy, and I just see like what's their tendencies, and then from there, like to me, there's you study, and then it's just time to go play. Like there's only so much you can do, and it's going to be really basic, but they're not going to become a brand new player from the week before. So you know exactly what you're going to get. And to me, the real preparation is in the off season. If you're at a certain level as a player, like they have to prepare for you. That's what I like to think about it as. So there's
Okay,
definitely
no,
little
let's
things.
let's pick that up then. Walk me through that a little bit, because that's I've heard that from multiple athletes that your off season's your real focal point. So how do you go through it then?
Yeah, it's crazy that some people don't think of it like that. Even for a team, you win your games in the offseason and in the summer. You don't win them when you actually play them. Like I like to think about it like this. Like everything in life, you set goals to become something, right? You're not actually trying to achieve the goals. Like you're trying to go to the NFL. So really what you're doing is trying to become an NFL receiver, right? That type of level of receiver. And that's what the offseason is all about. We always talk about it. We want to make massive jumps. You want to be a brand new player when they watch on film. So that like I'll break it down in kind of like layman's terms, but like when a DB comes to play me like at the top of the route, it's so hard to guard me that like no matter what, no matter how much film you watch, you're gonna have to guard my incredible top of the route skills. Like you're not gonna, you know what I mean? And if I disguise it really well while I'm running my routes, like you're not gonna be able to tell. But me being able to disguise them well and have really good skills at the top starts in January when I start preparing my body to squat a lot, to basic running mechanics, and then we start to get more or sport specific as we get to the season. It starts with things like that. But the season, yeah, you get more cohesive as a team and you get better at football, but you become like you set the foundation in the off season, and really it's like those little extra times you spend working your craft. That's why like I tell guys all the time, there's no shortage of top level NFL receivers. Like if you were as good as Devontae Adams, you would be making millions of dollars somewhere else. But there's only a couple guys that are really at that peak, right? So the goal is to become that, not to like I don't know, like make it there or something, because if you're really that good, then it will happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense, because I feel like some people sometimes almost take it for granted, thinking that that's where they're already at, but that sometimes they don't understand that like how you put it. There's only a under probably 1% of like even like 0.5% of like those few up above and beyond athletes just right now, right? So you have to push your limits, try and create those different opportunities for yourself where you can grow as a player and an athlete, than to get yourself closer and closer to that achievement.
For sure. For sure. And I think too, it's like anything in life. People think that when the moment comes, like when the game comes, that's when you win. It's like, no. Like
Right.
you win by all the things you do in the dark. Like it's like an iceberg. Like you know how it's like 80% of the iceberg's mass is underwater. Like
Sure.
that's what all the unseen work is. And they only see the tip when we get out there on Saturdays. Like literally, it's like they did the math. It's like I want to say I think it was 4%, but we only play what 11 Saturday guaranteed Saturdays out of 365. That's crazy. That's crazy. And what is
Right.
it? It's 60 minutes. That's 11 hours.
Sure.
365 days to make plays. That's all we do all this just for that. So
No, you've literally outlined it perfectly. And I know you probably can't speak much going into this Saturday's matchup with Northern Colorado, but I know what do you want to leave these guys, especially I think it's your senior night for your guys. So
yeah,
fascinating
senior day.
opportunity. So how do you want to leave your seniors out going on a good note?
Oh man, yeah, we got to get a win. Obviously, anyone that's been following us, um, it's been a tough one this season, and it's not even close to the standard that Eastern has, and really there's no words I can say except that we're gonna get it right. And we've had a lot of close games that we should have finished, and then the last ones have kind of been not very good at all. So this week, though, it's a great opportunity to protect the red and start a streak again on the red of protecting home, and send these seniors off the right way and have a little bit of momentum going into our off season. But as soon as this game's over, everyone's going to take some time to recuperate a little bit, but we're already on to turning this program around where it needs to be, because that's really that's the main focus.
Love
Yeah,
it.
we got a game on Saturday, obviously, but they're losing one game at home is unacceptable for us, let alone however we've lost this year. So I can promise you that I'm going to do everything I can. The guys that are bought in here are going to do everything they can, and it will get turned around. And sometimes these times are the best because it really wakes people up. And I think you're going to see a lot of people take a lot more ownership around here to get us back to championship level where we usually are. So.
Beautiful. I know the Eastern fans love seeing you out on the field. And before we wrap up here, Nolan, I know you've got a podcast. Let's talk a little bit about yours, because you've got a great podcast yourself. It's called the Make It Happen. Explain that to the people, what you try to achieve with your podcast. It's almost kind of like how you've gone through your journey of making it happen to your goals. But I want to hear it in your words, how you describe your show.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the Make It Happen podcast. Basically it's just like you said, there's some good soul episodes where I drop some of my techniques of how I've gotten to where I am, and I'm gonna do a couple more. It's been a while since I've done some of those, but I like having a little voice on that. And then if you don't like listening to just me, then I've got some really good guests that have made it happen. And yeah, we just dive into their mindset on things and just giving people inspiration, insights, and just mental skills, all sorts of things to help you reach your goals. And I think the best way to get to where you want is learning from other people who have done it. So success leaves clues, and that's what my podcast is all about. So I have one coming out Tuesday with this guy named Jerome Blake, and he's on the Canadian relay team. Just won a gold medal in the World Championships in Oregon for track
Wow.
and field, and then they won a silver medal in the Olympics, these past Olympics. So just another cool guy, and he's from Kelowna originally too. So we'll have a bunch more guests like that too. So I'm excited for the future of that podcast.
No, the podcast is phenomenal. If you guys haven't, please go check it out. Where can they go find it, Nolan? Let them know.
Yeah, so they can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Like I said, the Make It Happen podcast. We're working on getting it on YouTube and getting them filmed and putting that up too. And then yeah, Google Podcasts, basically anywhere where you listen, it'll be available. And also, if you want to keep up with me, I post a ton of content on my Instagram, Nolan Ulm, and TikTok, YouTube. I have my own account on there too. We don't have the podcast yet, but I post my own little shorts on there. So yeah, Nolan Ulm for all of those. And just I love the community that's kind of been created from what I'm doing, and I love hearing from people how it's going. So if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, just DM me, and I respond to every DM. So
Well, Nolan, I greatly appreciate it. If you guys haven't yet, please go check out his podcast. He's doing great work, and go follow this man, because he is something special to behold for the Eastern Washington Eagles. Nolan, thank you so much for your time. Having you back on a different show this time, but appreciate you coming on and taking some time.
of course, Blaine, I appreciate you always.
All right, Nolan, you have a great night, man.
Yep, you too, Blaine.